It's been pushed.
Jazz hands. Hello. And welcome back to this week's podcast once more. That was the opening song, which consists of 3 chords, because that's all I know.
Very nice.
You are welcome. This week's podcast is going to be brought to you by Hair Decisions and COVID weddings.
This week's podcast is also brought to you by threats and exhaustion. And kind of COVID weddings.
Oh, all right. I'm your host, Madison.
I'm your other host, Jesse James. We began a later recording schedule this week, and it was well timed because I just woke up.
Yeah. I've been awake for a while, but I don't know that has changed much of anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Evan is back. He's in the other room.
Okay.
He has returned from his internship, so we are now continuing the cohabitation.
We'll see if we get any guest appearances or guest noise appearances.
Oh, I'm sure.
You're kind of doing the my roommate thing. It's just a much longer stretch.
Yeah. Kind of. He actually, one thing I didn't think about before now is that a chunk of his classes are online. So, like right now, he's in the other room in class, I think. So I have to not scream during this time.
I guess that's acceptable.
I guess. But
I mean, is he just watching something or is he interacting with something?
He's both, I think. He has a professor that is requiring everyone to keep their webcams on.
Oh, okay.
So
sort of a nasty boy professor?
I think so. I don't know what that adds to it. Evan claims that it is more interactive than his other classes, so it makes sense for this one. So I'll take his word for it.
I could also just see that being maybe a useful cynicism for a professor.
Yeah, I could see that.
So what are these exciting snacks that you were alluding to?
It's just a singular snack, but it's very exciting. And it's this.
Ooh, that's caramel cowtails.
Yes.
I am very jealous of that.
It's very warm, so it's kind of squishy. What are your pod snacks?
Well,
hello.
You doing a thing?
What?
You doing a thing?
I'm doing a thing. Okay, well.
We have confirmation. So
there's your proof.
First, I have this, which is just a bunch of blueberries jammed into sake.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good.
And I also made a mango glaze the other night, so I mixed some of that in. So I'm going to see how that turned out.
A mango glaze. What was the mango glazing?
It's pretty good. Nothing yet. I just like glaze and using it for things. That is a softer than usual cowtail.
My cowtail is very flaccid.
But does it still have the same bite? Because that's the important thing. That is extremely dick-like. That actually, I mean, less in shape, more in actions.
More in behavior.
While I was cleaning up from the work that I finished at 8/9 this morning, I had to wait for somebody to pick it up. You can tell what kind of amazing mental state I was in because I doodled this Garfield one wet puss I don't know why, but I'll just keep that here. It is a good example of how thick that paper was, though. Well, I would rather not use those fingers for now. I also have a savory snack.
What do you need?
Are you eating a cow's tail?
I'm eating a cow's tail, yes. Gross. Are you jealous?
They suck ass.
Get out!
This is not an official
How
review
dare
of
you.
this podcast.
Insults my cow tail and then leaves.
Cowtails don't suck ass. You should enjoy a cowtail.
Mm-hmm.
I have another flavor of these. This one is, I believe, made with just beans, or peas, rather. Yeah, the last ones were lentil. And they're good. They are like salty peas.
That sounds good.
The most exciting thing by far, though, is
Oh.
So I received this about a week ago. It was in exchange for some art that I did like months ago. But one of my artist friends in Seattle, I'm glad I got these scissors because this is packed very well. Brought by some sealed foods, and this is some no-bake cookies that I had yet to try.
I love no-bake cookies.
Yeah, me too. They are not unmoist, so let me try to be tactful about the removal of this one. They smell extremely good. Anyway, so I got like a late night. Well, not that late night. I got a night delivery of like sealed homemade foods in exchange for that stuff. Mm-hmm.
Good sounds.
It's very peanut buttery.
Is it like a muesli kind of bar?
It's a no-bake cookie with, I believe, oatmeal base.
That looks delicious.
I think it was blended at some point because the oatmeal is all broken apart. Anyway, this is also sort of my breakfast now. We are recording at 5:30.
Indeed, we are.
I feel like I should go into why I'm tired, and then if you want to talk about yours, I don't know if you have any special one, but
our weekly ailments corner.
So my like office job style thing is largely making the physical portion of people's wedding sweets. So a lot of like paper goods and occasionally gluing gemstones to something, very occasionally. But yesterday, I went into work and realized that the job I'd been given on a rush required me to tear 10 sides off of very awkwardly sized paper pieces to decal them, which make sure there's not just cookie bits. If you look at the sides of my fingers, they are real blistery and weird today because this and this get most of the traction from it.
Yeah.
And in order to even hold paper that thick down to tear it, I have to lean on it with my whole arm. So once you do that a few hundred times, it starts getting uncomfortable. And then once you do it over 1,000 times, it starts getting where you just want to finish it so you don't have to do it ever again. Um, so yesterday into this morning, I did essentially an overnight shift of 11 hours of just tearing paper. And I wouldn't
Wow.
suggest it. I
No,
would
that sounds
suggest
horrible.
not doing that. It's a very rare occasion to decal. At one point, the person who runs this company said they would never do it again because a much smaller order I couldn't finish. So they had to do a little bit of the end of it. And then, like, 3 separate people all said, "That's terrible. I don't want to do that." uh, so it's not just me complaining. Oh, I also have my large cup. I don't have my usual Hawaiian cup for coffee today because I needed a bigger
A
chungus.
heftier, yeah. That's a pretty substantial cup. Yeah, deckling's not a fun physical activity at all.
No.
It's
Uh,
horrible.
and it's deceptive because it can be fun to do like 10 sheets of paper because you get a neat look from it, and you don't really start feeling it until you've done it enough repetitively. And just for this isn't me not taking care of myself. I wrapped both fingers and I wear a glove over it. It's just that much force for that long on one
Yeah,
area does that no matter what.
it just wears on your skin after a
Uh,
while.
but I finished that up at 8 this morning, and it got picked up at 9, which was later than I was told originally. And I wish it were earlier because I had to wait to go to sleep until after. Because I can't just like leave it outside. It's a very expensive project, but
Hmm.
I was strongly considering just putting it on a chair out in front of this apartment complex. Being like, I don't know, deal with it. But the off chance that I would have to do it again today seemed like enough of a deterrent for that.
Yeah, I've been there.
Hmm.
That is a pretty strong deterrent.
But it did put a nice emphasis on the. I consider Sunday the end of a week, even though it's the start. The government says it's the start, but you don't have to listen to them. Um, I consider like a strong end of my week being a notable one, so I guess it's all right. But
I also consider Sunday the end and not the beginning.
yeah,
It just feels weird.
it caps a week of a resurgence of people talking about how my life would be better if I weren't so lazy. So that's always a nice lead in.
That's fun.
So how did your exhaustion come about?
Um, well, uh, it has to do with one of my topics, which is COVID weddings.
Oh, okay.
So I attended a COVID wedding on Saturday, and there wasn't a lot of communication happening as to what the precautions were.
Were there
Um,
precautions?
nope, there were not.
That sounds about right.
So, because this is Northern Idaho, and that's
Uh-huh.
how things are right now.
Mm.
So, I am quarantining now for a couple of weeks,
Yep.
and um, yeah, the wedding itself was fun. It is. I also do have actually another wedding to go to, I think, right as this 2 weeks would be up. So that's just gonna be what I do, I think, for a while.
Is there a higher chance of safety precautions at this one, or is it
Maybe.
similar?
I
Okay.
think maybe at the next one, it'll be less people, and I don't know if I'll be able to wear a mask because I'm actually in it. I'm a bridesmaid. So, I mean, I guess I
How long
could.
is it uh, until this one? Like 2 weeks?
Something like that. I think it's on the 11th. So
Do
it's just
you
about
do you
so
have enough time to get a mask and either attach a photo of the bottom half of your face or do like lips and the nose drawing to like
So
really
everyone
mash it up.
knows. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Also, your new hairstyle does open up a lot of like J-pop alternative looks. So if you can pull that
Yeah.
off, you could totally wear a mask and or eye patch and get away with it.
Yeah, a lot of good possibilities. I did actually, this is it's funny that you say J-pop because this is inspired by Rina Sawayama's music video Excess for
Okay.
Excess. Um I don't know if actually she's considered J-pop or not. I know she's Japanese, but I don't know if that's the genre that she identifies
I
with,
think
but whatever.
J-pop often is just a non-Japanese way of saying Japanese music, honestly. So
Okay. Then I don't know, I guess maybe, but yeah. That's why I'm tired. It was a nice wedding. It was relatively small, like pretty small.
okay,
Kind of just at a little church. And for the most of it, we were kind of able to maintain some kind of distancing because Evan was a groomsman, so I mostly just hung out with him and like the two other groomsmen. So
right.
there was like not a lot of us um, up until the ceremony, and that was just, a ceremony. So sitting with people. Um, yeah,
How
but
many weddings have you been involved in? Uh,
in my life, probably four.
okay.
So this is a busy wedding summer for me. I'm not usually in this stuff, but I guess I am now that age that people I know are doing that. So,
Yeah, I'm
um,
older enough to where I hit the wedding boom part, and went to like 20 weddings in like a few years. Uh,
I feel like that's starting.
yeah, it's COVID is a real shitty aspect to add to that because weddings are often the drunkest and the sloppiest I see people who are even like not usually that way. So
Yeah, can confirm. Yep.
yep.
Uh,
I've
yeah.
danced more at weddings than I've probably danced anywhere else, which should be a good sign of how much drinking was happening because it takes a long time for me to get there. Um, though I did have a really good dance going with an ex of mine at a wedding where we were doing opposite arms in front and behind each other, drunkenly yelling, "We're an octopus." So, I mean, you can find ways to make your own fun at weddings, definitely. But uh,
Yeah,
also, if that's any
that's the
indication,
things.
don't invite me to your wedding unless you want something stupid like that. Uh, I did have to buy dress pants and like a decent set of clothes and stuff specifically for weddings. My wedding outfit, which I think you've seen most of, I think I had to change some things for the wedding we went to. But
The shirt, the famous shirt.
oh, that was new, of course. We went and got that. But um, that outfit probably costs more than I've spent on clothes in my entire lifetime, other than it, uh, which was uh, sort of an interesting story if you like minutia, I guess. Uh, I only had that suit because I needed a suit, like a suit jacket to go with things I already like cobbled together over years, including like pants that one of my friends had sewn back together parts of and shit like that. Uh, but the jacket that I wore to that wedding is like a normally like a $700 jacket or something I would never buy. And then I had like a lawyer that I went and saw about student loans, and they decided not to charge me the like $300+ that it costs to do that thing. I think partially because I was just very poor once they started dealing with me, and they're like, "Yeah, this doesn't cost anything." It was like loan consolidation, and I think something about the fact that going through like what I was paid and how these loans worked, we came to the conclusion that the best path for this, like considerably less than half, well, around like $50,000-ish, as a person, I would be able to pay that even with family help, never. So I think the conclusion was like, I don't really need your money for this like hour we spent consolidating stuff. Anyway, I was told then by my family, I need to buy a jacket for this wedding with that money that I had, which was already like loaned out from them for that lawyer appointment. So I felt like
Oh.
I felt like a homeless man going into a like fancy person store, being like, "And what kind of material is this, sir?" And the person who was helping me very clearly could tell that I was not somebody who bought stuff like that. And they were annoyed by it noticeably when they realized that I was trying to get a good deal and that I just needed something that would like fit and work with the colors I needed. Anyway, that's my
Right.
exciting story about being a poor person buying a blazer. But it worked out, and that wedding that I wore that to the first time, I ended up with an illegal switchblade from. So, good things come in unexpected packages, I guess.
I'm hoping that the same is true of this wedding, I guess. Evan got tested this morning, actually. Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He had to be tested as part of like going back to school and everything.
Did he say that the stuff in his nose felt good? That's what I hear from everybody.
Oh yeah, he was like, that was awesome.
Loved it.
Would do it again.
Would do it again. Probably will have to because of how people live.
Yep. And he was like, everyone around me was mostly fine with it, but that fucking wrecked me. Like, that hurt so bad. And that's what I've heard from all my friends that have done it, is that it really sucks.
My dad sent me a message after he had to go to the hospital for something else because he has lots of various things. My biological father / pops, he is if you haven't seen most of the episodes, you probably don't know what that means. Anyway, so he went to the hospital and he had to get a test in addition to the rest of the stuff, just as like a precaution as well. And he sent me a text message like right after it happened saying that it felt like they were putting it inside his brain.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. I heard that there's a possibility of a accurate saliva test in the future. That would be nice.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I remember, I haven't seen these so much lately, but I remember about like maybe a month and a half ago, scrolling through Instagram and seeing different like smaller companies advertising their own tests.
Okay.
Like, I can't remember what companies they were. I feel like one of them was a women's health like pill or something like that. One of those companies that sends you like customized pills.
Right.
And I think they were advertising a saliva test or something. And I haven't seen those recently, so I wonder if they got in trouble. But
I don't know.
I guess
that is the like administration's dream of how this would work, though, is a bunch of companies making possibly faulty tests, and then whoever kills the fewest people through misinformation wins. So just kind of following the scheme.
It's kind of what we're looking at. But Evan got tested this morning, so depending on how that goes, I guess I'll know if I'm fucked or not.
What? It's like 2 or 3 days to get that result?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
They told him that if he was negative, they would email him, and if he was positive, they would call him. So every time his phone rings, we're just like,
yeah,
oh no.
that's a weird setup. I mean, like, I get why they would do
Yeah.
that, but that is sort of a like, your phone is now a gun kind of
Yeah,
comment.
yeah, kind of. Like, oh God, scared every time it rings. And earlier, he was trying to set something up and was doing like two-factor authentication a bunch of times in a row.
Uh-huh.
So his phone just kept ringing over and over. And I was like, this is stressful. I don't
Yeah,
like it.
I
But
don't know. COVID is stressful. I think that is a good general statement.
yeah, that's a good blanket statement. But it really sucks that the rest of the world is like on vacation right now, and I'm having, or people are in the position of choosing whether to like cancel their weddings or just have it be really small, or I mean, it's all shitty. I don't envy the people who are trying to get married right now, but
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. Uh, I think it goes without saying the amount of people who have died in this country, especially, uh, should probably be more of a talking point. Because I feel like people say it and then just sort of ignore it. I imagine this is honestly
mm,
probably kind of what it was like for things like Vietnam too, where you knew people were dying constantly, but your only defense against it is to kind of pretend like it's just normal life.
yeah, I think
Well,
so. I guess uh, lately I have been seeing less people on Facebook saying that it was a hoax, which
it's
is
true.
nice, I guess, but I think that's because people are dying
I
and they
get.
know that now.
I think it's also because the people who are committed to the idea that it's a hoax are also going on vacation and not on social media as much.
Yeah,
Um, which
probably.
is frustrating in a number of ways. Not that I necessarily want to like go on vacation and then fuck other people over or myself, but uh, it is shitty knowing there's a lot of people who aren't taking this seriously, who are probably like taking a trip to Hawaii and just won't get sick, and that'll be their story on how this went for them
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah, I
not that
that's
I wish them death, but like in terms of just general cosmic justice, it seems pretty whack.
that's pretty shitty. I think, I mean, it's the same thing in Idaho that uh like per capita, the people that are getting hit hardest are like people on reservations and stuff,
Mhm.
and all of the white people who are just very insulated and going and doing their vacations or camping or whatever they don't interact, like they don't
Yep.
even, it's not something they will ever know about.
Well, that's
And
like
so
the I'm not in the mood to talk about how really any actions by government officials are accidents because I think that that's giving them way too much credit on the outset. If we're going to hold anybody accountable, it should be them. And the story that I heard brought up for like 2 days and then never again was when they asked for assistance with COVID at the reservations and they sent them like 300 body bags. And they were like, oh, that was an accident. It's like, doesn't seem like an accident to me. Uh,
no,
yeah. That happened
that's
early on too, when it was like we could help people and like quell this right now, and then they just decided not to. Uh, but
no.
I feel like that's pretty in line with everything that our country does. So, not really a surprise, just frustrating along with
Right.
all of the other shit.
Yeah. I have people that are not on reservations and people who are in larger city centers, I think, are starting to uh well, it's getting worse. And so they are
Right.
seeing it more firsthand. And it's really shitty that it takes it happening to people that you specifically know for you to give a shit about something.
It also, the worse off those people are, the more it can get through to people, which means that a lot of the necessity for that kind of trash comes from like, oh, my grandparents got really sick, as opposed to it just being like, I listened to everyone on the planet when they said, be careful.
Yep.
Seems like an
this
easy
is how
mistake
I feel
not to make. You feel extremely flaccid about the...
I feel really sad.
I will say if somebody's penis is the texture of a cow tail, they should probably see a doctor immediately.
Probably.
But man, we used to carpool, and that place that has cow tails is the only place that I really find them in this area. So I haven't had one pretty much since then, and it is a real bummer.
A shame.
Yeah.
Our gas stations don't really have them too often either. And
do they have Idaho Spuds?
I think so. I think most places do. I don't like those, but...
Yeah, they're kind of a nightmare, but I like that they exist.
Yeah, they're not very good. But I went to the grocery store a few days ago, and there was an entire display of cowtails. Like, just cowtails and nothing else. And I was like, I'm buying all of them. So
also,
I bought a lot.
Cowtails are usually like $4 for $1. Like, they're not expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got a lot of them. I have a lot of cowtails right now. If there's still some more in the display, I'll have to send you some, because clearly we're being shown some favoritism here with the cowtails.
I feel like places like most of Idaho and most of like Eastern Washington tend to get lots and lots of favorites for like stores, and places like here tend to get like the new shit, which is usually just code for like a small batch of something that they're deciding if they're going to buy more of. And
like a tropical Swedish fish that may or may not taste like armpit.
Yeah, which we talk about mailing each other stuff, because I set aside a set of those, and I'm going to lead you through the tasting process in
good.
a number of weeks. They're sealed up, so they should be as fresh as they can be. But
Yay.
I need other people to know what that flavor is, because the only way we can identify it is to have other opinions on it. It's such a weird, like, it's very familiar, yet it's very alien, and I can't quite get a grasp on it.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to try that.
So. I am distracted by the fact that you have an Usher shirt. I was trying not to mention it. I am a little jealous, but there's not really much more
I
to
am
say
also jealous because it's Evan's shirt. It's not mine.
It's a very good shirt. It also matches the hair well, which I feel like is very fortuitous. It's nice when couple outfits can actually like intersect with style and not just be like other clothes in case of emergency.
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, this is probably the only shirt that he owns that I would wear. I mean, the rest of them are fine. He just does. He's a very like nondescript dresser,
right?
And I alternate between having a very, I would say, not like classic, but I guess traditional wardrobe that's not very exciting, just like white shirts and jeans and stuff like that. Or I go the complete insane maximalist approach and just buy the weirdest fucking shit and wear that. So I don't wear a lot of his clothes.
I basically, I guess, have the same style approach as you do for male clothes, because it's a lot of completely blank can just be clothing that doesn't really have anything it doesn't match with, especially if, like me, you enjoy colors that fight.
Yeah.
And then I have things like that fucking, like, Godzilla shirt that is completely surrounded graphic and almost impossible to look at and things along those lines. So I would describe my style as obnoxious mostly.
I like that.
And cheap. I have a lot of shirts that I've had for years, and I also have a lot of shirts that are like shirts that my dad got from biotech companies when he would work like doing odd jobs for them. And then they were handed down to me. So I have a lot of like cancer research shirts and stuff like that that are they're fun because they are technically places where my stepmom does or did research, but the way that I got them is very like these shirts just don't fit anymore. I'll give them to my large son.
Oh my goodness. We have a call from Evan. Should I answer this?
I don't think you have an option.
I guess not. Hello?
I'm gonna get coffee, actually.
Okay.
Everybody enjoy this call from Evan.
Okay, I will do that. Sorry. I am pretty sure that it is expired. So I would just go ahead and grab some new ones. Okay. Alright. Bye. Riveting podcasting content is Madison answering her phone while Jesse goes to get coffee.
You didn't even play anything.
No, I didn't. I just did a chord.
You threatened people? What was your call about? Anything good?
No, Evan was calling to ask if the bread in the refrigerator was expired, and I told him yes, absolutely it is.
If it doesn't have mold on it, it doesn't matter. It's bread. Who cares? I toast all my bread, and I keep it all refrigerated, so... unless I find stuff on it, it is good bread.
Yeah, Evan he gets the cheapest possible bread, which I am morally opposed to, because I think bread...
Yeah, not the best bread.
Bread is something that you should allocate some dollars towards, in my opinion, because I care about that, but he doesn't, so it's fine. But
I get discount breads, as I've explained, and freeze them, which means I get very fancy bread for regular bread prices and then keep them for way longer.
That's what I do, too. Yeah. I freeze a lot of bread, but Evan does not like doing that. So he likes the breads that are very spongy.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends who do that. That is a specific taste, for sure. Perhaps the kind of taste that does not allow for things like cowtails, which, you know, we all have differences in our desires for food. My roommate, for example, likes some things that I think are, let's call it horrific, but I feel like that's a strong statement. Also, I have a lot of friends who, as my one friend would say, have baby taste, who have the, like, completely leaving out what I would consider, like, 95% of food from their diet because it might not be good, and instead just... My roommate used to be kind of one of those people and has gotten better, but I know, like, a group of people where almost everybody is like that, and it's tough to deal with, especially when I go hang out with my other friends who have normal mouths and normal wants for food. It is strange to me, because food is one of those things where it doesn't matter what kind of money you make or what kind of like person you are. It seems like a universal like enjoyment kind of thing, because it would almost have to be, I would think. But
one would think Evan is not that type of person. I don't know. I think he enjoys food, but definitely not in the same way at all as like you or I would.
We've talked about this a little. I suspect he has engineer taste, which is
he has the I need sustenance in my body to continue living taste, and I don't really care what it is.
And then occasionally, this dessert thing I'm going to eat a ton of, because that is something that I see very commonly in people who don't like food that much. Is then they will also shave down an entire box of Oreos one day and be like,
yeah,
that's what I felt like I should do.
Yeah. A part of the engineer taste, I feel like, also is not having any sense of food ownership, and just anything that is in front of you is free game.
It's very utilitarian.
Which I hate.
Yeah.
And he uses the excuse that he grew up with like 3 other brothers, but there comes a time where I don't think that that's an excuse anymore.
Yeah. Also, he lives with one unbrother. So
I know.
I don't think it works anymore.
Is a very slow. I'm a very slow eater. I like to eat slow and enjoy eating. And Evan likes to shove food in his mouth hole as fast as possible.
Yeah, so... I have to hide food from my roommate, including hiding food from him that he bought for himself. And when I say hide, I mean I put it in the cupboard, because if it's on the counter, he'll just rove into view of it occasionally and just start like eating it. And if it's in the cupboard, he sometimes will forget it exists for like a week. It's a very like spur of the moment kind of eating necessity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what happened.
I'm glad there's different types of people, but they're perplexing sometimes.
It is a challenge at times. Sometimes it works out because I get to eat all of the exciting things because he's not interested.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. My roommate can't eat avocado, which means if I do anything and include avocado, I can make a barrier around it.
The avocado shield.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The only thing I have similar to that is when I cook with wine. Evan does not like when I cook with wine, like pastas and things. He hates it.
That's actually very powerful, being able to like create solo pasta that does not have any. That's good. That's a good tactic to have in there. I wish that were the thing I could do, because I could have unlimited like pastas just holding up space for food and then not worry about the rest. Unfortunately,
you could do like a avocado. Yeah, you could do like an avocado pesto sauce.
That's a thick sauce.
That would be a thick sauce, but that's all I can think of as far as pasta.
I'll see if I can figure out a way to make that work. That's not a terrible idea.
I found a recipe for it. I haven't tried it yet. Yeah.
I've never put pine flavor and avocado together, so I'm interested to see how that works.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason I found it was because I was looking up like vegan stuff, and I think that's where they were going with that. Is like an Alfredo kind of texture, but
okay. I'm always excited to take vegan recipes and add like bacon to them and stuff anyway.
and corrupt them.
Yeah. Uh, it's the nice thing about being a very food inclusive omnivore is that I like a lot of foods that are very like developed for and by vegans and stuff like that, but I get to mix those flavors a little more. It's exciting every time.
Yeah.
So the reason why I was talking about mail earlier, besides torturing you with weird flavored candy, is that uh, I started up a thing that's going to be going around to people in a day or two, and it'll be rotating around Seattle to various people for a few weeks, so it won't be immediately. But it's looking up ways of communication. So it's a exquisite corpse shared book, and then people can do poetry or writing or put photos in it, and it's
that's
essentially
so cool.
the idea is 2020 is very complicated, and I wanted to make something that we could get like a collective sort of idea of how it's affecting us, but also I feel like it's in a way having things like this come to you and having like other people's thoughts in it and stuff like that in the moment could be a very like connecting thing, and I think a lot of people are missing that. I'm pretty okay, aside from not being able to like date and not go to art and stuff. I'm pretty okay with the way things are working in my life, but I do think that this is a worthwhile thing to do. And it'll be a while till we're done doing it, so I feel like it'll be plenty of time for people to have ideas and some of the stuff I've done in it to start it off is basically even just like journaling, like putting in random thoughts about shit. And I kind of made a little box for it, and I'm gonna have some supplies so it can keep relatively safe while it travels around. But I want to include like I don't know, putting some like two-sided tape in there so people have a way to attach shit, things like that. And hopefully that will fill up enough. I mean, even if it doesn't fill up a ton, I would like to eventually, provided everybody's okay with it, put it up online for like, I don't know, a website gallery style thing. Just
that would
see
be
if we
really
can
cool.
have some kind of recording of like people's thoughts and feelings on this whole thing that isn't looking up old videos from the news and shit.
Yeah,
But,
I really like that idea. Is this something you've done before?
it's actually my sitting around while I'm waiting for rides to avoid the bus. I was reading about there was a online exhibition recently that linked off from the Smithsonian Institute that had to do with written art and like paper art in Africa. And one of the sections of that talked about zines, and it talked about different forms of like communication as art. And one of the things they talked about was, because I've always heard exquisite corpse referring to a shared piece that is a single sheet. And in that, it explained that exquisite corpse is something that in regions of Africa, at least, they did as a way of like almost like a shared mailing experience kind of thing, where it would be an actual book and they would like have different people do different things in it. And that's where the idea came from. Along with that, though, I also found out that zines are usually referred to, at least historically referred to, as democratic multiples, which I had never heard, but like in reality, that is probably the most descriptive and appropriate name for what a zine really is.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed seeing that as like a reminder that zines are just ways for people to communicate without having a giant structure behind it. So it is exactly what it says. It is democratic multiples of something you want to get out, but from a much more like anybody can do it, as opposed to you have to have success and structure in order to get your message out. And honestly, reading about that stuff and looking at examples of it and things like that brightened my mood quite a bit, just sort of thinking about like especially with how negligent the modern world has been with aid towards places like Africa. It makes sense that they would actually find ways and have ways left over from like hundreds of years of dealing with various shit to stay communal and to stay connected, even though they're having to deal with all kinds of garbage.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really cool, and I really am looking forward to people, I don't know, getting to add to it, and then like I'm specifically, you'd probably have one of the fuller books later, but I'm specifically kind of ordering it so that the people who are the least familiar with the most people in the group that I'm trying to send it around to will have the most content when they receive it, because I want them to have the option to kind of get to see a lot of opinions they wouldn't normally see. And I feel like, especially if it makes several rotations, if it is required to take that long for all the shit we're doing, that could end up having a lot of like, I don't know, call and response kind of stuff or anything else like that. Anyway, that is the story of Mail.
That's cool. I've never heard of the Exquisite Corpse like project or idea before. I didn't know about that, but that's really cool.
Usually it's the easiest version of it to relate, and the one that most people have had some experience with. How do I not have paper? God damn it. Anyway, the easiest version of it is, let's say I was making a drawing and I drew just the top of this wet puss. The kid version of this that is popular is passing that to somebody, and then and then depending on their art skill, they will finish it. So that's sort of the origin of that stuff, as far as I'm aware, is just sharing a picture. And that's all I had learned about it. And then learning that it actually comes from a more complex and like meaningful kind of work was exciting. So that also, in my constant online hunt for something that can be like an art gallery, so that I can fulfill that part of my like weekly needs. Learning about that kind of stuff has been a real benefit when I do find good exhibitions and things. There's some really shitty online exhibitions too, so I am definitely seeing what I would see if I was out like going to like art walks and stuff, and you like stumble across a room that somehow somebody can afford to have as their studio space, and all of their work is like just stuff it looks like they didn't even try on. I'm getting that experience too online, except there's even less money barrier, so some of the stuff is like amazingly bad.
That's funny. Is it spritzing time?
Yeah, it is over here. I always
Use it.
Before we start, I always feel like, oh, I'll just turn the fans off. It's just a little less air rotation and quiet.
Oh, no,
And then I realize when it gets to like hour 1, it's just the worst. It's so hot still.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not actually worse over here right now. It's been not as bad lately.
It's been not as bad here too, but the sun's still out and the heat is still active for sure.
Yeah, I think that's part of why it's not as bad in this room, because I'm not facing the sun anymore. The rest of our apartment is just windows, and it gets heated like all day, despite the blinds and everything.
I'll be honest, so that's the bedroom, right? The bedroom and the rest of your place look like different places. Every time you switch locations, it looks like a completely different house.
That's probably also because I have rearranged everything about 5 times.
I mean, it's still the same stuff, though.
Right, that's true. But I could understand why it would look different, because after being in the same room for like 4 months, you gotta redo it.
That's this space that I'm in, which is actually quite small, but it looks bigger, I think, because of the lighting. This space changes very little, but I've definitely adjusted some things in the rest of the apartment. The seating has stayed the same, though. My roommate has a like 4-section square piece couch that you like move the pieces together to make different setups. And I basically built a table and wedged it between 2 pieces and made that a temporary art like desk kind of because I can't only be in my room during this, so I've chosen to be here at that like sort of makeshift art desk and then my room, and that's been enough variety to pick a thing.
Yeah,
it actually has been very helpful having things like I don't know, like projects and certain games and stuff that are only in this area of the house, because I wouldn't normally sit in a sort of shitty folding chair thing that's been converted into a desk chair if I didn't have a reason to.
Yeah, I have my desk area usually stays the same, but I have moved it about 3 times because I need some variety. Yeah. And I think I've finally figured out the configuration that I like the best, because my desk is in arguably the best spot in the apartment, and Evan's not thrilled about it, but he hasn't been. So
yeah, you've been in the apartment, so
I get to have free reign.
It looks like you win the apartment war.
For now, it's I don't know. I'm kind of like running out of ideas of where to put things, and I'm also hitting a wall of, I have too much small furniture items, and I need to get rid of them.
That's an odd problem to have from my end. What's small furniture for you?
Like across from me in my bedroom, I have a kind of just a, how would you describe this? Like a bookshelf, a 2-level bookshelf on wheels. So it's only like maybe 3 feet tall,
It's on
Just stuff like
wheels?
that. Yeah, I think it was actually, I think I bought it from Michael's as like a craft caddy sort of thing.
Okay.
But,
I
and I
feel
really
like
like it.
you
But,
should screw a TV onto the top of it, or like a monitor, and use that to push around for having more modability.
yeah, that would be good. I have a lot of I have a lot of furniture on wheels right now, I'm realizing, which
I
is odd.
I'm pretty jealous of that. Furniture on wheels sounds good.
Yeah, it works out for me since I'm constantly moving everything and rearranging, but they're all just pretty much, I have like 3 of those basically, just like 3 bookshelves that are about 3 feet tall, um, that I just put in various places. And what
Can you
else?
get a flat bottom canoe, put it along the top of all 3, and screw that down into it, and then use a mop to move yourself around the house? But it has shelving, so you could put like a bowl of spaghetti in it, move to a
Of
new
course.
place, and then pull the spaghetti out. You could have your laptop, you could have all kinds of things with you while you do it. I think
Yeah.
you just got to get more crazy with the things you're doing, and that'll really spice it up.
Yeah, that's true. I
And
think we just need
house partners really love it when you start getting real weird with it. I feel like that's a hidden benefit.
Yeah, that's something Evan loves is when I come home with new furniture. Like this chair, he was super excited about. You can't really see very much of it. It's like a wicker chair,
Uh-huh.
but and I liked it because the wood kind of matches the what's it called? Um, the round one that usually sit in. It kind of matches that one, but it's a little nicer and it supports weight better.
Uh,
Comfortable.
you could do what my pops did, have a space of time between unemployment and disability where you're still trying to figure out what's going on. And in that space of time, he would just go collect like random scraps of trees from around like where we lived and build a chair out of
Mm-hmm.
it. Uh, so I would
That's pretty
like
awesome.
come home from school or like come visit from college, I guess. I don't remember. The space lines up, I think, with college. And there would just be a chair of like wrapped like branches and shit. They looked nice, but it was a weird like, I guess we got one of those now. uh
Did he just sell them or did he just make them?
you just made them. I think it was a like something has to fill my time kind of thing. And there was literally nothing he could really do at that moment.
Yeah.
So it instead of just I don't know, watching TV or hanging out, he was doing some of that. He's always done some of that, but then he was also making inscrutable furniture out of stuff, which is probably the way I will deal with my uh, unstructured time if I ever end up in that space later in life.
It's not a bad way to deal with it. It's
Yeah,
productive.
it's a type of productive.
I think it would be especially cool if he made a large set of them and then just inexplicably set up an entire matching set of furniture
Mhm.
in the middle of a forest somewhere,
Yeah,
so someone can just stumble upon it someday. That would
just
be
put
pretty cool.
a tiny sign out in front of it that says "Welcome to Dogtown," and just
Yeah.
let it stay. It would definitely need to be lacquered with something, or I think that would fall
Mm.
apart pretty quick. But if you finished the furniture and then left it out in the woods, that would be pretty good. It'd be like the the memorial site for Kurt Cobain in Seattle. That's just like a weird carved rock that is like sort of a gravestone that's just out in a piece of well, what's the fucking park? Woodland Park. There's an area that just has like a hill full of rabbits, and then there's this weird rock kind of hidden that's like a Kurt Cobain grave thing. I don't know. People never stole it, I don't think, so it's just kind of there. But that's how I envision people stumbling across Dogtown, is just, oh, this is... I hope this isn't creepy.
Yeah. I think that's how that should be experienced.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, if I could, you get some cool sound effects over there.
I think Evan is making bacon.
All right. I mean,
Okay.
that's not
I'm
not a bad
I'm
thing
not
to make.
upset about it. I just I think I smell bacon all of a sudden. Either that or maybe I'm having a very weird stroke. Oh well.
While I was at work yesterday, which seems like a week ago, my roommate was here and made bacon. I guess that he was going to leave some of, but instead of leaving it, he took it with him and told me that he made bacon and that he was going to leave it, and then decided to take it instead. Very weird way of communicating things sometimes, of like, you almost had bacon. Oh, okay.
You could have.
Could have.
If you were just a slightly better person, maybe. Maybe I would have left some for you, but not this time.
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of turkey bacon, but it is salty and it is meaty, and I like those things a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But there is pasta in the fridge now, so there's a gain of pasta and a loss of bacon I never had in the first place.
That's a net benefit.
The way of the world. Yeah. I mean, it is vegetarian pasta, so, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Nah. It depends on the vegetables. I'm okay with vegetarian things, but it depends on the selections.
what kind? Yeah.
Especially with pasta. I'm picky.
I'm a big fan of a place that I think still exists, but maybe moved over a space or two in Seattle, called like the Sunrise Cafe. They do mostly vegan and I think a couple vegetarian things, and it's a diner, but it's all of the foods that you shouldn't focus on eating, but you can if you're... It's the perfect ethic of a diner, of like, you shouldn't eat here very often, but you could. And they do like waffles made with like sunflower and stuff like that. But then they just all the stuff they have is like, oh, this is like fake meat, but it's not healthy, and this is like an option for an unhealthy breakfast, but like, you can get it here. And I've gone there a few times and just like sat there for hours and gotten like little bits of breakfast food while I'm working, and that's been really good.
That sounds really good.
I don't live close enough to there now to do that, but I would if I lived over there again. It's kind of like the Roosevelt area by the university in Seattle. Well, yeah. By the University of Washington in Seattle. There's like 4 universities, so that's a little not descriptive.
I hadn't gone to too many different breakfast spots in Seattle, but I did go a couple of times to 5 Spot in Queen Anne.
Oh.
And I really liked that place.
I have been there a couple times, and I remember liking it.
Yeah.
It's a little... It's by that costume shop, right?
I think so. Yeah.
That place isn't bad, but I think the first time I went there was because Bet's was closed. Uh, and Bet's is sort of the place that I spent the most time at. Because 24 hours, it always used to cater to bikers, and then it had food that, like, the only people who had finished it that you could find pictures of were, like, very big Samoan men who were just sitting by an empty plate, like, oh! And I think there's, like, an episode of Guy Fieri that goes there, but I've gone there since I was pretty little, and I was also there while they were filming Man vs. Food, with a weird set of people. I was there with a lady who I think might be in a cult now, who was doing a lot of, like, experimental drugs and, like, taking notes about it. I'm not entirely sure. A lot of interesting conversations and, like, just times in general with that person. And then another friend who has slowly spent their life moving from very act out, like, artist during college and moving into, like, seemingly very religious social worker. And I have no idea how that transition happens. Like, everybody has their own path on that stuff, but those two people did not like each other either. And somehow I ended up there with them in one of the only times they were ever in the same room. And we were sitting in the back corner of Beth's watching them film Man vs. Food and just listening to the dumb shit that the guy who did that show would say. Like, that's a lot of eggs! And then, like, and then his producer, who was this, like, sort of skinny blonde lady who looked like she was probably, like, in her 40s. Like, she'd been working for a while on shows and stuff. And she was back kind of by us, behind, like, the cook section. And she was just standing there watching and, like, kind of, like, making little motions. And every once in a while she'd be like, God, he's so fucking stupid. Like, she would just be like, God, I hate this guy. It was very funny. But I enjoyed that quite a bit. I don't know if they enjoyed it, but I've been in a lot of positions similar to that, I guess. A lot of being like, you guys haven't hung out, right? Let's go do this. And then having it be like, this is weird. But Bet's is a good place for that because there's a lot of stuff to pull your attention away. Including,
I mean, yeah, that sounds like a lot going on.
They also have a tradition of giving you, like, crayons and paper, and then it kind of doesn't matter what you make. They'll just put it on their wall, and then they, like, clean it off once a year, I think. Except they'll put their favorites, and they'll slowly consolidate them behind the cash register. And there was a period of time where I knew I was doing something right and wrong, where I had, like, probably, like, this much, like, a 8.5 by 11's worth of little drawings and shit scattered around in their, like, saved section. And if you're going to best that often, you should probably not continue on that trajectory. But there was a sense of pride I had in that. I think I was there, and they still had, like, a beaver that was, like, in a coffee cup that I'd done. But for reference, they also have a bunch of, like, little artworks from, like, local artists back behind there from various shit. Like, I think there was some, if you're a Seattle person, there was some, like, Henry work there, and I say work, it's crayon drawings, but it's work. I think Stephanie Rosick, I think her name is. She's, like, in LA now or something. a lot of the people from the art scene in Seattle before Amazon crushed it the first time had art there that was fun to look at, because it was very drunk art and it was very bad art, but you could tell who was doing it, and that was a lot of fun. Anyway, that's hopefully still open. That diner is very good. It's one of the most notable places in Seattle for food because of those other things I said, and the fact that the owner of it didn't like people, I don't think. So, like, they would be nice to some people they liked sometimes, and the rest of the time was, like, if they had to do any ordering or, like, help out or anything, especially later on, like, in the last decade, if they came and helped you, they'd just kind of be like, you know what you're doing here, and, like, toss your fucking menus at you and stuff. Also, a lot of jukebox vetoing that I think I inadvertently tortured them with because I was there too much for a while. And then when I went there a few years ago, they had installed an electronic jukebox that no longer had free reign to like pick whatever you wanted on it. I like to think that I helped make that decision a reality.
A BLT?
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew you were making bacon.
I want to see this BLT.
Yeah, I also want to see this BLT.
We rarely get to see like actual food on this podcast. It's always
I know.
it's always snacks. I never have a cook.
This is the first time I've had a cook in a very long time. I'm very excited for this BLT.
BLT Watch 2020.
Yeah, I'm
I want to
curious
know
about what this is going to look like.
bacon, lettuce, tomato, obviously, but I want to know if there's sauce. I want to know the bread consistency, because that sounds like it could be dicey.
Given what I've told you about his preferences, yeah. But I will not complain about a BLT.
Soft bread and crunchy bacon does have a place, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely it does. So, I'm not sure when this BLT will be coming, so I guess I'll just proceed as usual.
I was really hoping it was momentarily, but it does seem like maybe it isn't.
It felt like momentarily, but I don't think it is now. So I guess we'll see. In the meantime, I will unsheath more of my cowtail.
You're doing good with your cowtail restraint.
Yeah, better than I normally do. But it's pretty melted into the wrapper.
Seems tough.
That's probably part of the reason why I didn't take it all out at the beginning, because it's kind of stuck in there.
Is it still maintaining that texture like backwards cereal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's still very good. It's stretchier than...
Oh, yeah. I think there's something about that texture specifically that I just really like, because I've realized after eating them for a little while, do you ever have kazoozles?
Yeah, I do. Oh my god, thank you. Wow, Chef Evan. Okay.
Show me the sandwich.
Here's the sandwich. Very
That's
good.
Very nice. Is there a sauce? I can't tell from here.
Maybe mayonnaise. I think just mayonnaise.
Okay.
And I was brought this.
Ooh, that's a good addition.
Dang. All right. I'm excited about this.
That is a Pabst coffee, correct?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Given the structure of today being just a garbage podcast where we eat and talk about weird shit, I think I might get my last Pabst coffee as well.
Ooh,
Because that sounds
yes.
pretty good.
Yeah, these are pretty good.
Yeah, I like them.
Okay, and not to fully alienate anybody with any sort of misophonia, I'm gonna take a bite of the sandwich. This has turned into a whole other kind of podcast. Ooh!
Welcome to
Uh-oh.
Sandwich Cast. Welcome to our mukbang.
That's what it is now. We should actually do one for like a milestone episode.
Episode 50. We're on 41 today, so it's not that far off.
I'm trying not to chew directly into my microphone.
That might actually be around Thanksgiving. So that might be perfect for something like that.
Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving mukbang. I mean, Thanksgiving basically is a mukbang. American
It is
mukbang.
the nastiest mukbang.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's something I am confident we can pull off. All it takes is, especially if we continue doing like evening shows, I could totally make a feast of some kind and then do considerable damage to it.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. I've been getting really into my Japanese cooking book,
Yeah.
and I haven't made too much from it other than um miso soup, but like actual miso soup with dashi broth and everything.
Ooh.
So it's so good. It's like, I don't know why previously I thought it was okay to just make miso soup with only miso paste and like just random other things. I have now learned that is why it never tasted right, is because it's missing the dashi. It's very important.
Yeah, the really simple miso stuff is just stuff that I've always seen being breakfast. But like, if you
Mhm.
want to actual get into it, I think you got to have everything.
Yeah. So I now have 2 really big bags of bonito flakes, and which they have elevated everything by so much. I love
I
them.
that's what they're good for.
Yeah, they're
One
really
of my
good.
favorite, probably out of business now, hot dog street vendors in Seattle did Japanese style hot dogs, but
That sounds really good.
they would use like Japanese mayo and bonito flakes and things like that. They were real good. That I hope that old Japanese man is doing okay because he made good hot dogs.
Yeah, I hope he's good too, because I would love to have one someday.
Yeah.
Sounds like
I mean, the upside is your space between being able to visit out here is very reasonable timeline wise because of this COVID shit. So hopefully, as long as that stuff survives, there's a lot of things that a lot of people here won't have done as well the next time you're out. So you will probably have no problem getting people to go do shit. God,
true.
my fingers hurt.
Oh no.
That feeling that you get when you've like worked out a little too hard, where like your muscles, instead of just being like kind of tight or sore, they stop when you try to like move your arms farther or like something along those lines. That's happening with my finger.
Oh no.
When I'm making a fist, it stops, and I have to like pull it to get it to actually go the rest of the way. Maybe I'll just get a
That
sweet
sounds painful.
finger bicep.
Your
I am glad
fingers
that
will have been sufficiently worked out.
yeah, I'll just have like the sweetest finger donk on the side here. Um, I'm really glad that I wrapped them up as much as I did, though, because these blisters are not nearly as big as they could have been. There's this weird white discolored part on my finger here. That's not a blister. That's where the skin separated early on, and it started like bleeding up onto my fingernail.
Oh,
So I think that skin might just be dead. But I guess we'll see. Get some cool calluses for all the stuff I don't want to do, like tearing more paper in the future.
there you go. At least your fingers are prepared.
At least that.
For all the stuff you don't want to do. Oh,
How much of that BLT's left?
everything except for one bite.
Well, I think you should get the noisiest bite of the BLT possible, because I see something that I want to grab. This is a big up and down episode.
It needs mayo. I need some mayo. Oh no, my internet is doing dumb things. Okay.
The internet is dumb. I don't think that we're going to do anything about that. These are sticking in here, and I need something to loosen them up.
Ooh. All right, I'm gonna take another annoying bite for everyone.
Good. I'm gonna swish some whiskey onto my shirt and get to business. That sandwich seems very satisfying.
It is very good. Everything is 10 times more satisfying when you don't have to make it.
You know what might also be satisfying? A little look behind the curtain at how we end our shows. What if instead of waiting till after when things are closed, I just go ahead and order something like, say, maybe chicken and waffles while we're sitting here, and I tell you about the shitty people trying to distract from very obvious problems with our government online by talking about dumb shit. I don't have a lot of this to talk about. Honestly, so before I got to go to sleep yesterday, I was very sleep deprived. And I just got really angry towards the end. It helped because it powered me through the end of that job for sure. And there was a chunk of that job where I had to get a piece of paper that I couldn't tear with my entire hand and just tear the side of it. That was very difficult because they put some of the pieces of this one two up. So I had to tear equally around some sheets, which meant some real giant weird pieces. You know what I mean? People listening might not, but some interesting choices through there. But I had been having a conversation before that about just, and it was in regards weirdly to a article that I had put up just talking about from a religious perspective, essentially like, hey, can we maybe talk about the way other countries do stuff as not bad? Because there are a lot of things we could do that would be better, that we could do well. Uh, and
Yeah.
it was basically just referencing the idea that like our ideas, to anybody who's not being dishonest or uninformed, it's obvious, but the idea that the way that we handle our healthcare and the way that we handle a lot of things that are like personal needs is not good in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And if we did embrace the most socialist ideas that we're getting from the most left people that we have, we would still not be nearly as socialist as countries that we don't see as being socialist. It just, it's our perception that's all fucked up about it. And it's the reason why I put that article up is because I have a lot of religious family members, especially, and I think that there's too much tied up in this country about like um, if you are a good person, you're Christian. Everybody else is bad, but if you haven't picked a religion, you're just a lapsed Christian, especially if you're white. Like that's the view of
Right.
the US on the whole. And along with that, it comes with the idea that people who aren't Christian are bad people. And it extends to everyone who's not Christian. Like there is just sort of a underlying sentiment from people that like if you're like people like to act like, well, we're not anti-Semitic here. We love Israel, but Israel sucks, first off, and then the anti-Semitic part, we totally are. Like the whole Christian identity movement that comes from the what like identity Europa shit or whatever, the British Jewish thing. The whole idea is that uh, the true Jewish tribe became British people, and they're actually the Jewish people, and the fake Jewish people are going to kill the Palestinians, and then the real Jewish people are going to kill them, and then the prophecy uh, is fulfilled. That's literally like what Christian identity movement stuff is about. Like that is the underlying driving force of the people who support that movement is that it is as crazy as the fucking Mormons believing that the Native Americans in Utah were a different color than them because they had done impure things. Like it is the same bullshit. They also believe that the original Native Americans were white, and so the indigenous people were us. So it's okay that we killed them because they just did the wrong thing and we had to. It's that same weird, like, we're just going to make up a story that makes it seem okay to the people who follow us kind of thing. Anyway, that's a good encapsulation of the way America views basically everyone. Like the Islamophobia and all that stuff is ridiculously prevalent, and it's spreading a lot to, and it always kind of did, but a lot more to people who are just like left leaning are now being seen as uh like Islamicists in training to people who think that like that's what's happening in this country.
Yeah.
And further than that, a lot of people are now sort of viewing anybody who's in that range as being not American in the first place anyway, so their rights don't matter, which is what we're getting with the protests, even though they're like, hey, look at all these white people, to try and like devalue the fact that it is a non-white people led movement. They are simultaneously saying that all of these white people that are clearly the real protesters, they're actually not American anyway, so you can do whatever you want to them. So that's sort of the fun political landscape that you get to live in as a even slightly left-leaning person in this country. Let's
Yep.
see, where is... Sorry, fun recap. Did you have anything to add to that?
Not really. That I think that's totally accurate. I mean, just like a few weeks ago when I was in that stupid kind of Facebook spat with the man that I didn't know from Coeur d'Alene, told me to like go back to where I came from, basically, because I don't actually, I still don't, I didn't actually take an opinion. I just told him maybe research Black Lives Matter and Antifa before you make any claims, and
Yeah.
that was the response. It's like, you don't belong here. You're not American.
That's like the only people that I will try to interfere with are people who are saying things that are actively like hurtful at this point, just because it's like if you're, and some things are too like dicey to even respond to on that kind of stuff, but mostly I'm bringing this up because while I was in a very bad mood, I started thinking about it a lot, because this is coming off the tail of the day that I didn't get very much sleep at all, being told that all of my issues and all of my generation's issues are actually laziness. And then that was followed with like, all right, well, that's not true, but also here are articles about how the actual statistics of work hours are higher for millennials than baby boomers anyway. They work more hours, so you're just do it better and you'll have a good life shit can like fuck off. This is all done politely. You can back up that I don't act like a total asshole, but that is what these articles are saying, is essentially like, this isn't true.
Yeah.
They're not non-credible. They're from different news sources, generally just very statistic-based stuff. I try to avoid things that are like opinion-led, because I don't think that anybody is going to care about that. Also, I may as well, at that point, be sending like a Blaze article to a leftist where it's like, you don't care what they think about this. So I try to get them from places that are just very like, here are the stats. It's boring. There you go. So I sent some stuff about that, and then the response I got was, well, I don't buy the newest cars and video games and new iPhones and stuff, just so you know. Like, and that's now the inference of like, that's why you're failing. So I had to write back with, well, I didn't have to write back. I wrote back just being like, here's another article, and also I have a hand-me-down iPhone. I don't have a car. I haven't bought a game system or a full-price game in most of my lifetime. And like, the other thing was like all the newest gadgets. Like, I don't have that. The last gadget I got is this laptop that I'm recording on, and I did like a crowdfunding birthday to get it. Anyway, and I felt like that was a good time to share like my income, because like, I don't give a shit about that, but I know that other people like to get upset about like how they don't make enough, or how they make like not enough for what they're getting, and my income sucks. So like, it's very easy to put that out there and say like, I made a little under $18,000 last year, and I paid a little over $8,000 in dental, because the next thing they wanted to talk about was how, well, all your medical needs are handled by the state now, because we're all acting like socialists. None of that shit is handled by shit. Essentially, you can get lines of credit and still put yourself in terrible debt if they decide you're worth it, and for only specific things. That's our medical system. But eventually it just petered out with them, I think, getting tired of not having a good reason why millennials are terrible people. But that was the conversation that we got to have, was about how like, we're too lazy, we don't care, we deserve everything we get, and that the reason why I think that works in with my earlier comments is because that is sort of the weird CNN led building blocks, like CNN and the New York Times and all these places like 5 or 6 years ago did all of those articles about how millennials are killing everything, about how they're like the worst people because they're not buying enough. And then, like, as soon as articles started coming out analyzing that, being like, well, they have 3% of the wealth of the country instead of 22% at the same age as boomers,
Right.
so they can't buy that stuff. Everybody sort of quieted down on it and just started saying they're all socialists, which of course we are. We have to be. That's the only way we're going to be able to survive past our 50s. So, like, I don't understand why that's a problem. Anyway, so this happened, and then I had a bad night of sleep before I had this all-night work thing. The next day, I make the mistake of checking to see if I got a response to that, and instead, because of all the fun algorithms of places like Facebook and stuff, I get a thing that was posted up about how one of the buildings that caught on fire during a protest in Portland had some part of some area of the civic building that had something to do with COVID data of some kind in it. Nothing happened to it, but of course, places like the Daily Wire and shit start putting up these articles. I think this article is actually from Pajamas Media, which is a part of like the Salem Corporation now, which if you want to go down like right-wing propaganda wormholes, you can look into that. It's not worth it. It's basically Alex Jones with a "we're real news" face on it, but it's all like straw man, let's hate the liberals kind of shit. So that there was an article up about that was saying like the protesters in Portland, or the rioters in Portland, because they only call them rioters, are trying to destroy our research on COVID, and inferring that that's like some conspiracy. And again, they're all like political opponents now. They're not people that want something, slash the 80% majority of this country, which is left out of all of those articles. Anyway, so that article went up, and I have just the responses as of like after that went up for a few hours. And I want to note, I'm not going to say anybody's name. This is a good sandwich section, by the way. There's only a handful of responses, but every one of these responses is, as far as I know, I didn't look like where they're from. As far as I know, these are all like Washington State, where you would assume a little more liberal than other areas, I guess. Like 40s and 50s white people in Washington State that are making these comments. Also, something in the article, because they repeat this language in the comments, somewhere in the article headline, it says something about like the mayor of Portland begging them to stop or something like that. So that's why these are comments being put up like that. So the comments on this are, beg them to stop. How about arrest them? The mayor of Portland should be sued for what's going on there and enabling it. Pretty normal. This has gone on far longer than it should have. It is not helping their cause and is only hurting it. Is only hurting it as they continue to act like spoiled children who haven't gotten their way, so they're going to act out and hurt others and their things. That sounds like the screechiest old fuck.
Yeah.
Why are you begging these lawbreakers to stop? Stop them! That's all capitals. And then, is this where it gets fucky? Okay. So the next comment is, these are not people doing these things. They have become creatures fueled by hatred, rage, and I'll bet every one of these creatures plays violent video games. They have been programmed to destroy. The next
Going
comment
a little
also,
mask off on that one.
Yep. I want to note that except for one response, every one of these is by a different person. So essentially in your mind, have a round table of like 12 old-ish white women in like Washington State saying this stuff. Anyway, I'm going to reread that because I think it's easy to miss. These are not people doing these things. They become creatures fueled by hatred, rage, and I'll bet every one of these creatures plays violent video games. They've been programmed to destroy. The next comment is, time to pull out the big guns, with a bunch of thumbs up on that one. As the Queen said in Alice, off with their heads. And people want to scold me over the word animals, is the next one.
Wow, there's some really significant irony in that one.
The next comment is, start shooting, with a bunch of thumbs up. A comment on that comment is, name was just thinking, time for a body count. Enough said. And then the last comment at the time that this went up was, this could end in about 5 minutes. These people love the idea of just not treating the people who are doing any of this stuff like they're anything but mind controlled, and that they should just shoot them all. And I know that at least a handful of these people, these are people that my family knows, have families. These are people who know that I'm one of these people as well. This isn't some weird backwoods group of people talking about how they just want to go out and shoot liberals. It's people that know people who live in the city and people who do regular ass things but happen to be also protesters, and they think it's fine to talk about that. And I also wanted to relate that to a thing that I don't talk about because I think it's not really worth it most of the time, but in the course of 4 or 5 months, I'm a fairly noticeably online, though I keep a lot of stuff kind of based on art and not based on my identity. I've gotten 4 death threats since the start of the year, just from random fucking people online, just based on saying that we should defund the police and shit like that. I know at least one of them is absolutely a bot because it was a made a day ahead of time, no followers kind of thing. But some of them weren't. Some of them were just fucking people. And that's a thing that happens when you're online and have anything to say. And notably, I'm not a woman, so that doesn't happen to me very often. But this year it sure is. And I think that is only really worth noting because this is probably going to get worse over the course of the next half of this year finishing up. And I think people need to talk to their friends and family who are like this and remind them that it's not okay to call people you disagree with animals and threaten to kill them online, even if you're old
in the same
and don't know
sentence,
about that stuff.
Yeah, and in the same sentence as saying that those people deserve to be put down, declaring them the violent people who are programmed to. Wow. No.
They're programmed to kill. We need to kill them. Yeah.
I mean, I did receive many hours of training during Animal Crossing New Leaf.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, I just want to note the only statistics that you could take as negative about social and private time use when it comes to the difference between millennials and boomers. This includes Zoomer stuff a little bit, but they don't have as much data on them yet. The only negatives that they really stated, and it depends on your perception, is that physical books and television were used more on a daily basis by boomers than by later generations, which don't use as much physical media or television as they do. And they sleep on average 20 minutes longer if they're a millennial than if they're an older generation. So I guess working an extra hour a day equals 20 minutes extra of sleep is still seen by people who either don't care or don't care to believe anything. That's just being lazy because they sleep more, I guess. I
guess.
Yeah, I didn't think I would be triggered as much by that, but I'm just very, very tired of everyone who wants to talk about how lazy the youths are, when I think it's pretty clear if you spend any time not just up your own ass that there's so few lazy people in this country. Like, if we could be lazier, we would probably be a lot healthier. And the fact that the overworked kids that you have are saying, hey, we shouldn't have to do this, doesn't mean they're lazy. If you listen to them, it means that they are, in fact, overworked and underpaid for it. Other statistics being a lot fewer millennials are able to have families or ever will. A lot fewer people are able to get married and ever will. Like,
yeah,
people are not living well. Like, you see people. There's also a giant wage gap where the boomers' wage gap was much smaller. Where, yeah, you might know a YouTuber or 20 who are millionaires. That's not most people. That is literally that handful of people. And everybody else is like the two of us who can survive. But, like, I wouldn't say if somebody who was in our parents' generation lived like us, they would be fine with it. I think that they would be pretty pissed off.
Yeah, or kind of hopeless and feeling kind of despondent because there's not a lot to do. Like,
that's that other thing, is that people in our generation, statistics came out that 1 in 4 of us have considered suicide since COVID started. That's a lot.
I'm very honestly, I'm amazed that is not higher.
Yeah.
So.
I have talked to a number of friends who have told me that exact thing prior to hearing about that. It's the least surprising thing, but I think that that number should be paid attention to as well.
It's almost as if there's something wrong when a large fraction of the people in a generation either have considered or are seriously thinking about it, or it's like an everyday thought for even some people. Like, yeah.
Anyway, that's a less fun thing to inject into our completely exhausted and I would say one of our second juiciest podcast, with all of the things we've been eating. My struggle with these fucking blueberries and that stuff that just fell out of your sandwich.
My sandwich is falling apart.
Hey.
Okay. I've recovered it.
All right. I was going to do this earlier. I hope they're still available. That place down the street that sells chicken and waffles for cheap. God, I want that shit! So I'm going to take a look before we're done to see if it's still early enough to get it.
Do that. I want to know.
Everybody does, clearly. Ooh. It sure
I would
looks
not
like
be opposed to a podcast that's just listening to people debate what to order.
Absolutely. I think people sometimes might underestimate the amount of weird shit we would be willing to listen to, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had multiple family members tell me, because they're kind of familiar with the fact that we do this.
Yeah.
And
this weird shit we do.
this thing that happens on a weekly basis. They keep telling me, "Oh, you need to make them shorter." And I'm like, "See, there's no possible way to do that." And also, I would never want to do that. All of the podcasts that I listen to that I care about are like 3 and 4 hours long.
Yeah. I go back in the Knowledge Fight episodes sometimes just so I can be like, I got to work on this painting. here's a 4.5-hour episode.
Yeah.
I'll listen to that.
Yeah. Like,
That's honestly, podcasts in some ways are movies to me at this point. Like, that is just a good replacement for when I need to be working, which I'll state again, we do a lot of.
and they're even better than movies for me because I get way too distracted with any sort of like visual element. I won't be able to get stuff done most of the time. So
speaking of movies, I do have a wrap up on the Harry Potter series. I did finish that finally. Wah! Those blueberries don't cut the whiskey very much, but they do force you to like aerate the whiskey into your palate while you eat them. Holy shit. Anyway, so I finished the Harry Potter series. After last week, I just had the last two movies, the two-parter left. That have you seen? I forget. Have you seen anything besides like the first movie? Didn't you say?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Maybe like the first and the second, but nothing beyond
that. So just a quick rundown: the first, second, third, and I would say the bulk of the fourth all maintain this structure of like there's kids in a magic school. There's a lot of like whimsy, and it's very similar to like a Roald Dahl setup. And I think honestly, those first four storylines are why anybody has respect for J.K. Rowling. The next two movies that I watched and talked about a little bit last week, I believe, those movies that have like the brief romantic like arc with Cho Chang, they have sort of like a setup of what the ending is going to be, and they have very strict storylines in which you get a set of characters and you get a strip of story, and then it switches and does a different set of characters and like another strip of story for the sixth one. So those two are very like, you could pull those movies out of the series and they would work okay, which I don't actually like very much. I like when a movie series like melds into the next. I have the best freeze frame. It went back to motion, but it was mid-blink, and it looked like you were both blurry and rolling your eyes, and it was perfect for that. And the last two movies now are really weird. So the end of the sixth movie, before you get to the last two, deals with like sort of cutting off the old storyline and setting up the ending. So the end of the sixth movie kills off a major character, sets up a lot of other characters to like change their roles, and then like sets the main character, Harry Potter, up to be the actual leading character of everything. It also sets up in that movie, bleeding into the seventh, all of the actual like romantic storylines, which would be fine if they kept the tone of the series, but because they switch it, it just feels like a bunch of people having like dangerous relationships during a wartime that are going to fall apart. And the only reason why it doesn't seem like that's how it's going to end is because they do a stupid thing in the last movie. So the seventh movie is like the second to last Star Wars movie in any trilogy, where it's just like, I don't know, things are kind of shitty, stuff happens, and at the end, seems bad. And then the last movie is like the shortest movie of all of them. Like, they should have just been 1 3.5-hour movie. Like, that would have been fine. Or like 4-ish movie. Instead, they have like way too much story packed into little chunks. But the story that they're telling you is story that if you were paying attention is already inferred by the rest of the series. And it basically sets up that Snape, who is like probably it's played by Alan Rickman. Most people know that anyway. He's an awesome actor, and he does a great job playing this. I think he hated the role also, which kind of works for his character. But he basically plays this jilted, kind of snippy asshole through the whole thing. Even when he's helping people, he's like, ugh. And by the end of it, his story is the only one that really matters. He's basically like, he's helping everybody do everything, and he's helping protect everybody who has to get something done. He's also like a double agent trying to like keep everything as good as it could be. And he also has the hero death at the end that actually like sets things up to be righted. And he has the tragic backstory of the person he was in love with didn't like him back, so he just sort of devoted his life to like helping kids, basically. And instead of getting any credit for it, he's like seen as the asshole of the school. So when he does take over as like a double agent, everybody believes that he's a piece of shit anyway. So it works out. That's the only character in that whole series that I think legitimately has a lot going on for them in terms of like storyline. And he gets killed like by a snake. Like he's just sort of killed. And then you don't even learn about that stuff, except there's a magical device that if you get the tears of somebody while they're dying, you can pour it in a pool and it'll tell you their life story, kind of. Harry Potter happens upon him as he's dying, and he tells him to take his tears and go like get the story, basically, of the whole series. I think that character is well thought out in some ways. I think that storyline is stupid. I think the whole storyline is pretty stupid. There's a lot of caveats to magic, apparently, in which people's internal intentions change the way magic works because it's easier to make this work if I explain it that way. There's a bunch of relationships that are just like, this isn't going to work. But like I mentioned, at the end of the last movie, they just have like a 5-minute clip of them as adults, which is a bunch of like 18-year-olds in old people makeup, like putting their own kids on a train to go to magic school. And that's pretty stupid.
Yeah.
Also, the kid who's in the family that does like a bunch of war crimes, and he himself did a bunch of like war crimes, but was kind of like turning a new leaf at the end. He runs away from the whole thing with his shitty family in the end of the movie. But in that wrap up, they just have him standing there like, here's my kids going to school. So like apparently wizards have a very different style of justice system, even though it's displayed through the whole series that if you do anything mildly wrong, they send you to maximum security super jail where you're slowly killed forever. But that doesn't matter because apparently writing isn't the strong suit of the Harry Potter author. Anyway, I hadn't seen like the latter half of that in any kind of like at all for the last two movies, but like pretty substantially for any of the second half of that. I'm glad I watched it, but it's trash. Like I think people should see that trash and kind of learn what that trash is that's so popular, but
yeah,
it's bad.
that's what
like,
I want to do.
It's definitely a Twilight watch of like that quality.
I mean, the fact that you told me that it ends with like a weird scene of older, it's them but older taking their kids there. That's exactly how Twilight ended too.
Totally, it is the same shit. I think that is sort of the downfall of people being so into young adult novels as opposed to like writing for the. writing for the lowest common denominator is really useful in things like, let's say, a democratic multiple. Writing for the lowest common denominator when you're writing something that's a like novel about fantasy is, I think, not a great idea, just because it's not good usually. Okay, I need you to send me all of your positive energy while I try to order this chicken and waffles. Come on.
I'm sending them. I'm sending. Or is it close to the closing time? Is that why you're worried?
They kind of close whenever they want. So if they won't send it, it'll just be like, you can't get this. Come on, baby. Ooh, it looks like I'm going to get it. Oh, yeah. I added a $5 Almond Joy coffee drink to it just to be like,
oh,
if it works. It's very exciting for me. According to this, I'll have it in like a half hour, which is perfect.
Yay!
Because that'll probably be, instead of a half hour after we're done, when we're done, which I'm very, very jazzed about. Did you get through your BLT? I missed.
No, I'm saving it because I want to add a couple of things to it.
Oh, okay, good call.
It needs a mayonnaise and some salt and pepper, which I think is like that's my cheat code to any sandwiches, like salt and pepper, and salads too. It seems like very simple, but I think honestly it's a really good, easy way to elevate things.
Salt and pepper are on every table for a reason. That shit is great.
Yep.
Eggs, one of the most basic, perfect foods for like just when you need food. Salt and pepper is the addition that you put on it. And I feel like that's notable.
That's true.
I got a lot of drinks here today at the end of everything, and I'm very excited about that too. Also, I've had enough alcohol to be like very slightly buzzed, and that's exciting as well, because when you don't get enough sleep for 2 nights in a row and you destroy your hands, being a little bit buzzed feels fantastic.
I can imagine. That's yeah. What are you doing downstairs?
Is there a downstairs? That's another apartment, right?
Downstairs neighbor. Yeah, okay. I'm concerned that we may have found another. I've told you about our previous downstairs neighbors, right? In Kirkland.
Give me a recap. I'm not sure about that one.
We lived upstairs from a pair of very, very angry lesbians.
Oh, yeah.
They were real mad all the time.
I think you did tell me about this a little bit.
Yeah. I actually never met. I don't even know their names or anything. There was just one who was a brunette, like short brown hair, and she was really angry, and she was the one who would like bang on the ceiling with the broom.
Oh, so they weren't just angry at each other.
No, I think she was the angry lesbian.
Oh.
and her partner was just like there, I don't know, probably mortified because she was banging the ceiling with a broom like a cartoon villain. But they did that a lot to us, and we weren't like loud. I think that I can think of maybe a couple of nights where it was maybe warranted, but our apartments, I think, just had really thin kind of floors, and I'm pretty sure that just walking up and down the hallway was loud for them. So I mean, I can remember a couple of times where we were all just laying in bed and she got up and just like started banging on the ceiling, and I don't know, but she was mad.
I mean, about something. It's the opposite of the people that would move in and out of the place where I lived in college under us. We had an old couple that had to have a sex swing because their living room, there was something attached to the ceiling that would like,
Oh.
and we would hear them like making weird noises, and it's like, it has to be something like that, right? And it would happen like every evening, or not every evening, but it would happen often enough to where we'd be like working on something for college in like the one shared room, and you just hear this like weird like creaking attached to the ceiling. But they moved out eventually, and like, so as a reference point, I always have a window open, especially in a smaller room, because like I've had very slight respiratory issues with dumb stuff. I have like a little bit of a pet allergy kind of thing, but I have very few allergies that are like serious. So like I usually just have windows open in my room so I can get like ventilation. And also I like it extremely cold. So like I'll have my window open and my door shut in the winter as well. That came back to bite me, however, when the next people moved in and the old people moved out, because it was like, I think if I remember, it was a lady who somebody I was like sort of dating, who like lived with us briefly, knew from the Navy, and then her like boyfriend moved in, and underneath my window was the room they stayed in, I guess. So like the other room was an office or something, and they would just have the loudest sex like pretty often. And it was just sort of to the point where like, because they would leave their window open too, so it would just be like them yelling sex out into the like parking. So I would sit under my window and just go like, oh yeah. Like it got to the point where it was so ridiculous that like not yelling something seemed like it was leaving too much up in the air almost. But I really enjoyed that. Like there was a part of me that was like my sort of frustrated virgin self was just like, this is annoying, but most of me was just like, this is very funny, and I need to yell something at these people. I'm sure everybody else in the building hated both of us, but I thought it was pretty funny.
That is an experience. You've had you've run the gamut of people, kind of, as far as like sex noises go, I guess.
I have. There's been other sex noises other places. That's just kind of part of the deal when you're living cheap.
Yeah. Yep.
But I
vouch for
would never regret it. The only one I would ever sort of, well, no, I didn't regret that at all. I thought it was pretty funny. The place I lived in the same building with other people, with two vegans who barred the use of food items being used in the kitchen for non-vegan purposes, including like honey and stuff like that. They, however, were very fond of the idea of just doing whatever the fuck they wanted. They also left without telling me they were going to leave. So I found out a day ahead of time that we didn't live there anymore. And I had just gotten back from like riding a train down to like southern Washington and back. So I showed up and it was like, you don't have a place to live anymore. Have fun. And that's how I moved into the next place. But in that apartment, not only did they reveal to me that they part of this I kind of agree with in theory, but it was revealed to me that they got tired of like using toilet paper and stuff, and it was too expensive. So they would just use the shower. So they would just be, and it was one bathroom for three of us, and they decided that it was cool if they just used the shower every time they did anything, which really cuts down on the time you can use the bathroom. They also whatever it was they were doing, or however they were biologically handling themselves, it just kind of smelled like old tomatoes and feet in the shared parts of the house most of the time. And then one of them was a little older at the time, and she was dating like a guy who worked at um the submarine like part of the Navy that was down the street. He
Mhm.
did like submarine work. He was an engineer, I think, though, not like a sailor. You might be getting the feeling that there's a lot of Navy people in the area. You're right. Um, and he was fine. Like, I didn't have any extended chats with him, but they did have a habit of, when they thought people weren't going to come out anymore from where they were sleeping, just having sex in the middle of the living room that was like the only shared space.
No.
Uh,
No.
and just kind of with a blanket obscuring stuff. So I would occasionally go to the bathroom in like the parts of the night that I'm still awake, because I've always been like that. But like 11 o'clock is when this stuff would happen, and I'd like head to the bathroom and the lights would be off in the front, and it was sort of treed in that area, so it was dark, but you just see a blanket going like and there was one television in that place, and it was that lady's, so she just had like a cardboard box with a TV on it. And I started meeting more people, and it was only a few months I lived there, but I set up like, why don't we like have some sort of party thing? And then they invited people to like a party thing. Keep in mind, this whole apartment is like the size of what you see me filming in, with like a TV in it, basically. So people come over. We have like probably 20 people in this tiny apartment. One of them, who is kind of funny, because I and most people that went to that school were kind of like, I can't stand that person. The first thing she does when she comes in is walk up to where the TV is, take this blanket that I had just seen them fucking in, and just wrap it around herself like a quilt, getting ready for like having some grandpa like TV time. And I found that very funny. But yeah, just those pair of apartments were already an exciting time. And that leaves out the places where like our one friend lived, where he kept getting upset because it was like a house of like that particular house was the first experiment where it had like 4 or 5 people who went to our school, but they rented a house and just took rooms in it. And one of the girls from our school would keep talking to him. He and the other guy from Kentucky at our school, our class was not very big, but they both lived in that house in different rooms together for a while. They eventually lived in an apartment under us across town in our building, but at the time they were living there. And this one, she's actually a very successful artist in a way. She's done like shoe design and stuff, but at the time, she was living in that house with them, and she would come and just corner one of them at a time usually and talk to them about like, you would believe how great anal sex is. And that would just be like her topic. And she would like corner people at school and like start drawing them diagrams of how much she liked anal sex, and how like
God.
people just aren't doing enough of it. They don't know how good it is. And it was one of those things that's just so weird to have, because it wasn't like a joke. It was like something she was really passionate about.
Like she was an evangelist for anal.
Yeah, and then she started towards like the second half of like college being like, it's just like, if you really want to like lock down a wife, you gotta have anal sex. And she started like pushing this idea on everybody that like, if you want to actually be like a bonded couple, you gotta do butt stuff. It's just never gonna work without the butt stuff. I've just never been around A lot of people I've never been around before at that college, but that was a particular personality that I found very funny. uh,
That's
yeah.
a pretty
I,
interesting topic to really choose to go hard on.
uh,
That's
I did later
interesting.
end up accidentally ish peeing in the back of the fourth roommate in that situation's car uh, at night. Nobody else was in the car. It was fine. It is
Important details.
it is not easy to pee into the mouth of a soda or beer can. Let's say that's not a trick for keeping the interior of a car clean, but if you never mention it, people won't know. So,
God.
hey, you know.
The the choice to use the word mouth there really threw me off
Yeah.
for a good second.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's called, though.
Sure, yeah. I, uh,
I'm not going to be inaccurate just because it sounds worse.
I mean, that's true. I off the top of my head, I can't think of another way to say it, but it really threw me.
I feel like this will bleed into something later. We can call it college stories. Honestly, it'll probably have to be part of Natalie's Shady Fiction Warehouse, but
Oh, that's a good place for it, yeah.
since that started up right as COVID started up, we didn't get a chance to really extrapolate on that too much. Yeah. But it'll be back in the return to normalcy. Anyway,
whenever that's returning,
I think it's just a nice teaser to mention that the. Have you been to a Red Robin?
huh?
You know the like carousel horses, like you ever wonder like where the fuck did they get these?
Yeah.
Well, a guy who started off teaching us about the dangers of cauliflower anus in like a weird health class life skills thing in college.
Mm-hmm.
That guy makes them. And later on, we went for a demonstration of seeing his place where he lives and works. And he has a garage where he makes those carousel horses. So that's where they come from.
Oh.
There is
Cool.
a guy in Washington State who has like a big molding system where he makes those horses and paints them. So I don't know. That's a tidbit of information for people. I am anxious to get Natalie in here to talk about some college stuff because it's weird. when you think about like what's weird about an art college, most places where people go to art college, it isn't that weird. There's just like a lot of people there who are strong personalities. We went to an art college beset by bizarre issues and weird locational things that it legitimately, the longer I live outside of college and realize that's not what all life is like, the more I realize that the people who went to that college were fucking crazy. Natalie and myself included, but it is sort of that feeling of like, these things felt normal at the time. I don't think they're normal for other people. And I really appreciate that about where things ended up.
Everything I've heard so far is, and I didn't really have any serious college experience or any typical college experience, I guess. But everything I've heard from you so far, yeah. But like living arrangements and stuff, that wasn't really any different for me than high school because I went to a community college in my town, so I lived with my parents. But everything you've told me so far definitely lives up to the art school is a weird time reputation.
Also, like the art school I went to, it's now called like NCAD, like NCAD. Which I think is a worse name because it was called the Northwest College of Art, and that was more of a like, okay, I can put that on a resume and somebody's going to see that and go like, this is an art institute. Like, and I mean that in a good and bad way. It's not the Art Institute of Chicago, which would be the best way. And it's also not the Art Institute, which is the like chain thing. That's basically aping the name of the actual Art Institute of Chicago. And those things I think carry a reputation, but unless you go to like RISD or something, or like the new school, the Northwest College of Art at least has a sound of like, yeah, you went to college. The person who runs it had a real like, maybe they shouldn't have been running a school. Like, I think their heart was in the right place, at least to start with, but they ran a school, let's say, similarly to how you could imagine our shared employer would run a school, where like they are fine and they're good at a lot of things, but there are certain things that don't have a good conducive quality to a school.
Yeah.
We had, and I can go into this in a later podcast because I think that some of them deserve it. Some of our professors in that school were amazing, and and like people you wouldn't expect, like actual like important artists. Some of the people who taught at that school shouldn't have been around children at all, and probably should have been in prison or in a therapy. Like I can think of at least like one person who is absolutely a QAnon person now, because there's no way they wouldn't be. And that's not how professors should be, I don't think.
Not usually. Not typically. I would be curious to hear more about those professors. So.
Yeah, I could do some school stuff. Definitely want to get Natalie in on it though, because as much as we had a shared college experience, we did have different classes. We had like slightly different Natalie had a relationship with somebody who I didn't even really speak to much at all in college. So like that whole side of like friend groups and stuff, I have less experience with. There's a lot of stuff that you could get some good stories from Natalie on. My stories are largely, I've always been a little bit, what's the word? Not misanthropic, but like comfortable alone. So I did a lot of stuff during college that was like, I'm going to go find out about this town and like just go figure out what's happening. And some of the things around that town were also just fucking weird. So my experience centered a little more around like professors and space. And I think some of the personal stories that Natalie has about like our classrooms and things like that go a little more socially in depth in a way that I think is pretty funny. And I don't think not a big class, the majority of the people who would be at all offended probably won't watch this anyway. So I think it's a safe bet. I'm amazed that there are 2 cans of this in existence that I can see simultaneously.
I know, that is kind of amazing. It is nice. I don't see these very often.
No, I haven't seen them again here. This is the 4th one of the 4 I bought when I first had one. So not a lot of them have showed up.
Yeah. This is the only other one I've seen. I think I bought them once before for like a podcast, but this is the only other time. So I'm glad you had one on hand.
I'm glad they exist. Ooh.
to PBR for creating my worst nightmares and also pretty good stuff.
Yeah, for creating the right products.
I don't know about that. The lime hard seltzer, that is a different story.
Yeah, that's fair.
That was not good.
Some of their products are the right products.
This is definitely one of them. Strong endorse.
I recently, I think I might have some food showing up.
Have a delivery?
Oh. Thank you. You too. I do in fact have food now. Extremely excited. Let me grab it. I'll give a little show off to what I'll be eating in the future for all the people.
Hello? I want to see the food.
Okay. First off, I got a very blank coffee cup. Amazingly white. But that does smell like an Almond Joy and coffee had a baby. So that's very good
Excellent.
stuff. Also, I think the owner just dropped this off. I believe that is the man who owns the restaurant. So that's pretty exciting.
Well, that's some great service.
He seemed very enthusiastic about dropping food off. I don't know if it picked up on the microphone, but he was like, "Oh yeah, have a good night," which is much more enthusiastic than most people who do food
I did hear that.
Yeah. So I got a soup, which is a mystery to me. I just clicked the thing that said soup. So let's see what that is.
Mystery soup is good.
Ooh. Oh, the mystery soup is a very thick chicken noodle type thing.
Oh, that sounds good.
That is exciting. That's also a cheap soup side is how I make a meal like this into 2 meals.
Yeah.
Now, I did get 2 things because chicken and waffles is fantastic, but it is a very sort of sweet and bready kind of thing, and I wanted something bitter. And I got Greek waffle fries.
Oh.
And that sounds real good. And they were cheap because this place does not overcharge, which I love. And that is a fat stack.
Ooh.
That is
that looks real good.
That is more. Here's hand size comparison. That is more chicken than I expected. So I'm pretty excited about that. That's probably. I think that I hit them at the right time because they seem to be in a good mood about this food I got. Holy shit.
That's a good chicken to waffle ratio.
Yeah. This was also one of the cheaper orders I've made, and I feel like I got legitimately like 2 large meals worth of food out of that. So that's exciting. Let's try this. Yeah, that's real good. That is more a dessert than a coffee, but it's real good. Anyway, now that everybody who happened to watch this is probably very hungry, and I definitely am, I'm probably going to start just slamming food into me.
Yeah, I'm about to slam the rest of this BLT once it's mayoed up.
Yeah, I don't want to hold you from getting the proper mixture going. So, you know, we decided on this title early on in this episode, but Prepare Your Garbage could not be more appropriate for what we've done today.
Yes, I think that's perfect. That perfectly encapsulates the ground that we've covered. Expect more mukbang material in the future because honestly, that's all I want to do. So,
I personally, after being as exhausted as I have been this half a week or so, I needed to take a break from all the ways that the world fucking sucks lately. And this has done a pretty good job of that. I also want to just mention that I think I mentioned this last week. People should watch Lovecraft Country, and that is my plan while I eat this food after we're done here and I'm uploading stuff. That show's real good. So seek that out.
Since you talked about it, I've heard about it from multiple other places, so I'll probably check it out. Yeah, pretty soon if I can.
Yeah, I might have a way for you to check it out if you can't find another way. I just need to talk to some people.
Confer with your people.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, my fingers hurt, so our outro song is going to be, let's say, slightly more inventive.
Ooh. Okay.
Don't be an asshole just because somebody's on the internet. And treat people like people, mostly. And tune your guitars. They need it once in a while.
Every once in a while, but don't tune it too often.
Also, bejabbers.
Also, be gone, thoughts.
You remembered.
I did.